G'day, battlers, and today we are jumping in for yet another Silph Arena Polkadot Cup tournament sweep, this time coming from one of the best battlers in the world, Paulasha97. Paulasha has consistently been sort of like, up in the upper echelons of the Silph Arena ranking. She's currently number 36 in the world, number 1 in Spain. Last season she was legend rank in the Silph Arena, so like really just a very well accomplished battler, and she's obviously really, really talented. So she's currently 10-0 using this team that we're going to see today. So she went 5-0 in this tournament, and then she's also gone 5-0 in another tournament. So I think if you're looking for a team, this definitely could be one that could work pretty well for you. But today we're going to go through all that. But also this one that we're going to watch today was the Polkadot Cup tournament that we hosted on my Discord. So the link to that Discord is going to be down in the description down below if you want to jump in for that, because, we try and host one every single month. I'm aiming for the first weekend of the month. This one was the second weekend because Sydney Regionals was on the first one, featuring one particular whale that may be popping up yet again. But, with that said, we'll be taking a look at Paulash's run here, and down in the bottom right, you can see her team there with Donphan, Luxray, Normal Castform, Nidoking, Samurott, and Beedrill. So a lot of sort of regular picks, but at the same time, if you haven't watched my last two videos, they were also recaps of people's runs through our two Aussies, Otto Saha and Misa76. And 3 of the Pokemon on Paulash's team were not on either of their teams. So Polkadot Cup is really striking me as a meta where a lot of different teams can succeed, but this is one team that one of the best in the world is having really consistent success with, so worth sort of stopping and taking a look at. Now, that Donphan is running, I believe, Body Slam Earthquake. Luxray, I think, it's not in English, so I'm pretty sure, based on the counts, that it's Psychic Fang's Wild Charge. The Castform is running double Weather Ball, so no Energy Ball. It's normal and rock type Weather Ball. Nidoking's got that Sand 2 Megahorn moveset. Samurott is Hydro Cannon Megahorn, and then Beedrill running that Drill Run X-Scissor as well. But, with that said, she happened to match up against me in the first round. I was pretty panicked because I was like, oh, I know Paulash is pretty good here, but we're obviously bringing Wailmer straight out swinging. My team over there is Wailmer, Normal Castform, Galvantula, Dugong, Blaziken, and Oranguru, trying to get some sort of bulk on there while also being able to use Wailmer. I was the only one in the tournament that did use Wailmer. A little bit disappointed, but that's okay. At least we get some action, in the video here regardless. So, with that said, we'll just sort of jump straight into it and get this going and take a look at how Paulasha did against, Beedrill into Wailmer in the lead, which, to be honest, is an okay lead for Wailmer. Wailmer is really, really bulky, so not the end of the world, but you can see that Paulasha is also running that Samurott, and I think that was Normal Castform in the back. So we're staying in, and I threw the Body Slam there. I'm going to say I a lot because I'm going to focus on me probably because I was there, but we'll see how it goes regardless. Tanking the X-Scissor because we knew that we could. We're sort of expecting an X-Scissor. Now this X-Scissor would be enough to KO the Wailmer, so we sort of have to make a decision there of whether we wanted to shield, but happy to let Wailmer go and then come in and get a little bit of an energy farm on the Dugong. Do unfortunately have to take an X-Scissor, but at this point we know that it is an X-Scissor based on how many poison jabs it was, so we can tank it, and then Samurott comes in, which isn't the worst thing for me. I keep going to say us, but I'll try and say focus on me versus Paulasha here. But yeah, you can see that Paulasha is gaining a lot of energy here and going straight up for that Megahorn. And I do not call it, and Dugong is going right down there, and now it is Castform against the world, which is especially rough when you see that Paulasha is still hanging on to that full health Castform in the back. I'm now at the shield disadvantage, and so Paulasha is just going to be able to go straight through, tackle, normal Weather Ball, normal Weather Ball, normal Weather Ball. I do have the Energy Ball on mine one, so I think I'm running Rock Weather Ball and Energy Ball. So, Energy Ball does do a nice chunk of damage to that Castform, but the fact that Paulasha already had the shield advantage, not too great for me, especially when this Weather Ball is just going to go through, and quite frankly, is just going to tackle me down with a 2 shield flex as well. But it is what it is. Game 2, though, we've got the Normal Castform into the Blaziken, a good lead for me on the other side there, so I'm just going to be able to counter away. I'm really comfortable to just farm past the move and just burn a shield on this, whatever move it was going to be, which happens to be the normal Weather Ball. So burn the shield there, and she actually swaps out into the Beedrill, which gives me an opportunity to get these Blaze Kicks off and really threaten that Beedrill. So she's in a little bit of a panic here with only one solid counter to Beedrill to Blaziken. being the Samurott that's sort of hiding in the back. But obviously, you don't want to swap into your hard counter. So brings in that Beedrill, burns both shields, and then is able to take Blaziken out. But now it is Wailmer's time to shine. Goes for the X-Scissor because she really does want to sort of get those shields out of me. But Wailmer, I know it can tank either of those moves. So takes the X-Scissor, and now Paulasha going for the Drill Run for the KO. But Wailmer is such a tanky little whale, able to hang on, really the whale that could, and throws that Body Slam to do a big chunk of damage. And that is absolutely huge because it means that this Beedrill doesn't have the time to get up to that Drill Run up against the Castform. Oh, potentially, I don't know. But a Castform is able to, really quickly tackle it down. And now Paulasha sort of has to bring in something against this Castform that has one shield in tow as well. Remembering that I have Energy Ball, and a single Energy Ball is going to do a lot of damage against this unshielded Samurott. So we farm up energy, Paulasha tries to make a catch there, but knowing that Castform is pretty low on energy, I'm able to farm up a little bit more, throw the Rock Weather Ball here, and then I'm going to be able to get up to the Energy Ball up against that Samurott, and seriously, like, full credit to Wailmer, because I think Wailmer seriously carried this game through for me, but it does mean that we're at 1-1 going to game 3. I was pretty excited to take a game off of Paulasha, but this is not where I want to be at all. I do remember going into this game sort of not being prepared for Donphan, and so Donphan is not something I wanted to see in a lead. So we burn the shield there because we're kind of hoping that maybe Paulasha doesn't burn the shield on this Blaze Kick and just sort of lets the damage come through. But yeah, Paulasha burns the shield there. And at that point, I swap into the Wailmer, maybe try and catch a Body Slam, but no catching going on here. She swaps out into the Samurott. Samurott, again, will be able to tank any of those moves from Wailmer. I'm running Body Slam, Heavy Slam. So just go straight up from the Mega Horn, gonna go right for it. I'm less inclined to shield because, again, Wailmer really bulky and can tank that move while still being able to get up to that Body Slam. But Paulasha gonna burn the shield there and we'll be able to Fury Cutter all the way down. Having a ton of energy now. I do still have a shield in play, but Paulasha's got 2 Hydro Cannons here, so even if I shielded this move, she'd then be able to get another one off, and then she would still have a Donphan plus a Castform in the back to deal with my own Castform that has sort of just come in now. And now Donphan's just sort of able to come in. I was really hoping that I could tackle down. Was hoping that Paulasha wasn't going to be able to get to the Earthquake, but evidently she was able to get to the Earthquake. So, GG's there. And I came away expecting to lose. Paulasha's really strong. And I'm just really happy that I was able to get a win there with Wailmer sort of being that sort of like load bearing, like it was the main support of the team, especially in that game. So, we got some Wailmer love in this video, but we're never going to see it again for the rest of it. So GG's Paulasha. And now we're going to put a lot more focus on Paulasha because I wasn't actually there for the rest of these battles. But she's going 1-0 into the next round up against Harry2277, who's running the Beedrill, Celio, Samurott, Galvantula, Chestnut, and normal Castform. So I didn't really focus on teams before either. I guess I did it on stream a little bit, I suppose. But regardless, I do wonder if the Luxray could have a little bit of play here. There are double waters. There's a poison type there in Beedrill who doesn't love the Psychic Fangs, and Chestnut also not a Psychic Fangs lover. So we'll see what Paulasha decides to do here. We can see already that there's a normal Castform in the lead, and we're actually getting the Castform mirror match. No Luxray in the back, going for double poison with Nidoking and Beedrill. I guess the only ground type damage on Harry's team is that Beedrill with Drill Run. But going in, we're just going to tank that move on the chin and then just going to keep going up. I think that was a normal Weather Ball that was being thrown. Again, I'm not bilingual, so we're sort of relying on sort of animations and how stuff looks, energy timings, that sort of thing for this video for sure. But the opponent letting that go and now going to swap into the Celio. So in comes Paulasha with the Beedrill, wanting to keep that Castform for a little bit later. We'll be able to tank a Body Slam on Beedrill pretty handily. We'll have to start throwing moves at some point though, because that Celio is getting very close to that next Body Slam. Is just an X-Scissor and no shields from Harry. Harry staying calm and collected, going to throw one more Body Slam, which will bring Beedrill down into the red. But Beedrill, actually got up to the Drill Run. I'm not sure if Paulasha was just like sort of panic going for the X-Scissor, but in the end, it didn't matter which move it was regardless, because obviously Celio shielded up there. At this point, Nidoking coming in a little bit of a rough spot, but Paulasha still with both shields in tow, so she's able to comfortably sort of burn one here. And then probably going to go for a full farm down, but no opportunity to, because we see Harry swap out into the Samurott. Not really the Pokemon that Nidoking was hoping to see here. And shielding up the Mega Horn, which is so much energy down the drain as well. Tried to catch a move onto the Castform, who doesn't even have an energy ball. Harry, really nice counting there. Was able to throw the Hydro Cannon right before the Weather Balls were got to. And now Paulasha in a really, really tough spot here. Has to burn the shield on the Hydro Cannon. And then you need to go for the Sand Tomb. She would not have been able to farm all the way down. So has to go for the move, take out Samurott. But now that Celio comes back in and is just able to take it out before the Body Slam comes through. That was seriously, I didn't think that was her game. I thought Harry had that. But man, we're going into game 2 with the Donphan into the Samurott. The Body Slam spams are going to really start coming through. Samurott may be a really, really spammy Pokemon in this meta with some high damage from the Hydro Cannon, but Donphan can do a fair bit of work there because it is not very bulky. So we see a Celio swap in to catch this Body Slam from the Donphan, and Paulasha doesn't really have like a better answer to Celio because we've got that counter damage from the Donphan, so brings it down to relatively low health and then swaps into the normal Castform, who has Tackle, which really adds up, while also being able to essentially soak all of Celio's moves with access to the super effective Rock Weather Ball as well. So Harry decides to let that go, wants to keep that shield advantage. And we see the Samurott come back in to get one last revenge Hydro Cannon before coming down. I think normal Castform can barely tank that move, and then Castform from the other side going to come in and finish the job. We've got another thing for this Donphan to do. Donphan evidently proving to be really valuable up against Harry's team here. Gets that first shield out of Harry with the first Body Slam, and going to shield up because Paulasha really wants to add up that extra counter damage. Because Beedrill is sort of relying a little bit too much on the charge moves to take this Castform out. So Paulasha able to stay in, get counter damage, get that last shield with the counters as well. Not able to get to another Body Slam, but Beedrill now going to have to face the wrath of a little bit of energy from Harry. I think Harry might potentially be able to get to 2 Rock Weather Balls, and that will be enough. But oh my gosh, going to see the catch from Harry onto the Samurott, and that Samurott is far too low. Paulasha not going to be able to re-get any more energy farm, and that's won Harry the game. That catch, because if that catch didn't go through, and able to get that X's where it was intended to be, that would have been really, really nice for Paulasha. But it means we are again going into a game 3 with another Castform v Castform lead matchup. Goes for the normal Weather Ball here. And I mean, we sort of know that Paulasha's Castform can win this one out. And when that sort of happened earlier, it did end up going in Paulasha's favor. So we'll see if the game sort of mirrors that same result, but we're actually going to see something different. We're going to see Paulasha swap into the Donphan, again, getting that counter damage through, and Harry, interestingly, swapping into the Celio. Celio is also, again, taking that super effective damage from the counters and is not loving this matchup, but able to get to the Body Slam spam to throw back, and Donphan also not very tanky. But with that advantage, it means that Donphan is able to get to another Body Slam to take out the Celio, and now Harry again deciding to go for the shield advantage over the switch advantage. We see the Beedrill come in here, who is going to be resisting the counter damage, but again, it's a really squishy Pokemon, so is really threatened by the Body Slams from Donphan. Beedrill, really nice counting from Harry there, not wanting to let Paulasha get to another Body Slam and take it out with an X-Scissor. Could kind of go either way here a little bit, but has to be a little bit wary. I think this is probably the better play. Swapping into Castform, getting some energy, swapping into Beedrill to catch the move. Will hurt, but will be able to take it. Just does not want to take another one, and able to just barely farm all the way down, which means that Paulasha is able to get to this drill run. Really puts so much pressure onto that Beedrill, and it takes it. Hoping it was just an X-Scissor bait potentially, but now this X-Scissor, Harry's forced to shield if they sort of want to play this game out, and then at that point, Castform can come in, burn the shield here, and that tackle, I think going through, will actually be enough to take the Beedrill out before it even, oh no, needed one more tackle. But yeah, Paulasha taking that one again, really close to 2-1 again. It does mean that she's 2-0 going to the next round. And to be honest, I feel like Paulasha just had a really good time using Donphan. And Donphan is one of those 3 Pokemon. I didn't actually get to mention it earlier. The 3 Pokemon that we hadn't seen in the last 2 videos were Donphan, Luxray, and Beedrill. And those battles sort of put a little bit of a Donphan and Beedrill display in action. So really interesting to see that work. Because I hadn't even thought of Donphan sort of a week and a half ago. Like, it sort of wasn't even in my periphery. It was like, yeah, it has counter, but A lot of bugs and stuff that resist it, a lot of flyers, a lot of confusion users, a lot of water types. There's lots of things that Donphan won't really want to be up against, but it actually works pretty well. But it does mean that we're going to be going into round 3 now, up against Negative Ben 10, one of my patrons, so big shout out to him. And he's running that normal cast form, Samurott, Girafarig, Chestnut, Talonflame, and Oranguru. Now, Talonflame is another one that I was a huge fan of when the meta first dropped. I thought that it could do so much stuff. It can beat Araquanid pretty handily as well, which is wild, even just going straight Flame Charge. But, as time's gone on and I've sort of respected the bulk a lot more in this meta, I don't think that Talonflame is as good as it used to be, especially when you're up against a team like Paulasha, who's running that Rock Weather Ball on cast form. You've got the Hydro Cannon spam from the Samurott. You've got the Body Slam spam coming from Donphan as well, who is packing the ground typing. You've got Nidoking with Sand Tombs that can bring that defense down, even though it's not doing like that much super effective damage. It actually really adds up against that Talonflame. So, and of course, the Luxray with the anti-fly damage as well. It's a little bit scary, but with double poison on Paulasha's team, it means that Oranguru has a little bit of play. There's no psychic types that you're really hitting with its foul play, but its access to confusion does provide you with sort of, if nothing else, a lot of pressure against Paulasha's team. So she's got to be pretty careful about, I was like, I just saw the second psychic on Negative Ben 10's team, and I was like, oh, wait, there's a Girafarig to hit with the foul play. That's not how this game works. But Girafarig, another option that also brings in that Thunderbolt for the Samurott as well. So I do feel like Negative Ben 10 almost certainly going to bring at least one psychic type, probably the Girafarig, and Paulasha just sort of has to maneuver around that as she sort of goes in. But let's see how she tackles it. We've got the Beedrill in the lead up against the cast form. Really nice putting that sort of danger Pokemon in the lead so that if you see the confusion user, you can run away. Now, interestingly, Negative Ben 10 deciding to run Hex here instead of Tackle. Little bit more energy, little less damage. So we'll see if it does pay off for him. Paulasha going to go straight for that X-Scissor while in this relatively bad matchup, but the opponent actually going to swap out into their Oranguru. Really interesting swap because obviously it means that Paulasha is able to swap out of that Beedrill. Did take a big confusion to the face, which really hurts, but Paulasha now able to get that Hydro Cannon on, shield up here, and you could try and push for a Fury Cutter down. I don't think you're going to get there. Unless, not going to get there. Going to go for the Hydro Cannon to just get this Oranguru out of here. Negative Ben 10 actually going to shield there because they know that with this foul play, Paulasha is forced to shield if they don't want to let Samurott go down. And now we'll be able to comfortably Fury Cutter down and has a move ready to go onto whatever comes in the back. And everything on Negative Ben 10's team is scared of at least something. Chestnut, it does have the fighting typing, so it doesn't care about bug as much, but look how much damage that Mega Horn still does. It is not great for Negative Ben 10. Swaps into the Beedrill, and we see the swap back out into cast form. Again, Negative Ben 10's cast form is going to be able to get to those charge moves a little bit quicker. The hexes are going to be resisted, but the tackles are definitely going to be adding up here, and we'll take this move, tackle down, and then I should have a move sort of ready to throw onto the Pokemon in the back. Well, almost two moves. So you sort of go for the first one, probably burn the shield here, and then go for the next one that may be the KO move here against that Chestnut, because Chestnut also not that bulky in this meta. Really is just sort of a pressure mon from the charge moves. But taking game 1, going to game 2 with Donphan into Girafarig, Negative Ben 10 trying to catch that Beedrill in the lead, but not what we're seeing here. That looks like it may not have been confusion though. That might have been the double kick animation. Yeah, I think that's double kick. I'm not certain. I think it is. I think. Tell me if I'm wrong, but we've got the Body Slam instead of going in there. Girafarig getting really low and Paulasha deciding to just let this Psychic Fangs go. It's really going to hurt because that defense debuff already came through, but Donphan able to hang on, able to get one more Body Slam through and actually take out Switch Advantage, just like Wailmer did that little bit earlier. Now we've got the Cast Form, come into Cast Form, and we see the swap out into Oranguru. This is sort of an interesting swap out because, we can see that Paulasha's backline, she has the Beedrill, and it would have been really nice to be able to sort of get that confusion damage onto Beedrill, but by the same token, X-Scissors would really be hurting that Oranguru as well. So, you sort of give and you take there, but deciding to keep that cast form in the back and gonna use Oranguru up against this cast form instead. Burning his last shield, really wanting to keep Oranguru alive, potentially expecting that it may be a Beedrill in the back, maybe one sort of energy to potentially be able to get to a move there. Actually catching, if this is a foul play, that is a huge catch, huge. So much energy gone, keeping Oranguru sort of energy dry, and now bringing negative Ben 10 out to swap. Lands the Rock Weather Ball, which really does hurt. This is actually looking pretty scary for Paulasha. We'll be able to get to the Exeter here. That is not going to be anywhere near enough, and there's not enough health in the back. Paulasha cannot get there. They're going to shield up here, and they look. It is a Hex cast form, so it takes a little bit less damage. We'll be able to get to a normal Weather Ball here that is going to do a lot of damage to this relatively low health cast form. Take it out. Is this going to be a tackle down? Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Just barely taking that one out there. Really, really close stuff. Wow. And it was entirely possible there that Hex could have actually cost negative Ben 10 the matchup because Hex was being resisted, whereas the tackles were sort of doing a good amount of damage. It does mean that Paulasha is taking out 2-0. I just paused it to sort of like let my brain process that a little bit. But we do have a game 3 here up against negative Ben 10, I do believe. So we've got Donphan into the Talonflame, bring that volume down, and then swap out into the Samurott. See the swap out into Castform. Castform, not really that much of a counter up against Samurott unless it is packing that Energy Ball, which it's hard to know. I can't quite remember whether he's running double Weather Ball, just because, again, the language barrier sort of threw me a little bit, because I'm sort of not guessing, because you can see when the Rock Weather Ball comes through, that sort of little sandstorm. Has the Energy Ball, it turns out, able to take out the Samurott there. And now Paulasha bringing in her own cast form to tackle this all the way down. We'll be able to tank this move. It is an Energy Ball again, but able to take it. And then swapping, we see the swap into Giraffe Rig and actually catching these Psychic Fangs into Donphan, which is a blessing and a curse because it does mean that you're going to take extra damage from all of these extra double kicks. Like in some universe, you could have potentially taken the Psychic Fangs onto the cast form, taken the debuff, and then swapped to Donphan. But it's sort of cast form was already so low as well. But regardless, Donphan going to go for that last minute body slam. Not able to get to that last one. Again, sort of potentially because she didn't burn a shield. But now there is a 2-shield cast form. Gets the Psychic Fangs defense debuff as well. This this Weather Ball is going to be enough to take the Giraffe Rig out, but still has to muscle through a fair bit of Pokemon in the back. There's still that full health Talonflame. Going to farm up, count moves. Really easy to sort of count moves against Incinerates for sure. Gets the double super effective Rock Weather Ball there and has to burn this charge move. It's just whether Paulasha can tackle all the way down and then get a move onto the cast form in the back, and is able to get that Weather Ball off, take out the cast form, and actually take out the round 3-0. Really, really nicely played from Paulasha. Again, like Paulasha, I mean, this is one of those metas that's very neutral, right? It's not a meta where you're sort of playing hard RPS counters. It's not insert most GBL cups here. It's not one of those things. It's very neutral. And so while Paulasha sort of like looks like she's in a rough spot in a lot of these matchups, because she has the skill, she's sort of able to find those win cons around it, find when she needs to swap, what move she needs to throw, where she can sort of take the Psychic Fangs onto Donphan, no shield it, keep the 2 shields for the low health cast form in the back, and actually come out on top because of it. Really, really impressive plays from Paulasha here, but it does mean that we're now going into the 4th of 5 rounds up against Zero Centuton Zero, who's running Araquanid, normal cast form, Swoobat, Donphan, Celio, and Nidoking as well. So also deciding to run the double ground strat, but not running the double poison, which is fine for Paulasha because Paulasha's team doesn't have a confusion user on it. So it's not really built to take down those sort of double poison types. So sort of okay with how things have gone. I'm noting that we haven't actually seen Luxray come out and play yet. I did a scroll through of the video just to again get the movesets as per usual, and I did see that it does appear at least one point. Whether it's going to be up against this team, actually very possible, because again, there's 2 water types in Araquanid and Celio. There's a flyer in there with Swoobat. You know, you've got the Psychic Fangs for Nidoking as well. And, you know, Donphan and normal cast form aren't that good for the Luxray. But, you know, you never know. You never know how these things are going to play out. So, I mean, I was going to say, oh, maybe it's the lead Pokemon that Paulasha is about to throw out, but you can actually read on the screen that it is not Luxray. It is Donphan coming out in round 4 up against the Araquanid. Not where Paulasha wants to be at all, because this Donphan is not going to be doing a whole lot here. Well, the Bubble Beams even actually add up quite a bit onto the Donphan. So Donphan just going to go for the Body Slam, just trying to sort of start adding up that damage onto the Araquanid, even especially before the Bubble Beam sort of comes through. But we see that Paulasha takes the Bubble Beam and then just swaps into Samurott. Samurott able to get to the Mega Horn here before Araquanid actually goes for any sort of Bubble Beam, which is very interesting here. A lot of energy here, so Paulasha sort of thinking that it is going to be the Bug Buzz. It was just a Bubble Beam. Which does mean that this Hydro Cannon is going to do a little bit less, which is a bit unfortunate when Castform is so bulky. Without the debuff, 2 Hydro Cannons would easily sort of do the job, but potentially with the Fury Cutters, it doesn't actually matter. And interestingly, Paulasha just going to let that Samurott go and bring in Donphan to finish up the job here, going just full counter down, tries to catch the move onto Castform as well, going to keep all of that Body Slam energy on the Donphan, takes the Weather Ball, and then tackles down. There's still 2 shields on the opponent's side, and they bring in the Celio. Celio is going to take some damage from this Rock Weather Ball. It's not as much as you'd like with that Ice typing, but again, it's a case that alongside the tackles, because you're going for that damage generating move rather than the energy generating move of Hex, you are able to sort of, it's enough to KO if this Rock Weather Ball were to go through. At this point, I'd be surprised if the opponent didn't shield and then goes for the Body Slam here to try and take the Castform out. At this point, Paulasha knows that it's sort of a uphill battle for that Castform, and so she's just going to rely on the counter damage from the Donphan. Goes for the Body Slam on the Araquanid, and they actually let it go, keeping the shield for the Celio in the back. Would need to get to 2 charge moves here, and unfortunately, it's a simultaneous KO. Both players with a shield still in play as well, but that is absolutely wild. It means that we're going into game 2 here with a 0-0, and Centuton just got a lead of leads with Swoobat with Confusion into Beedrill. Paulasha swapping straight out of there into the normal Castform, and after doing a little bit of stuff there with the Psychic Fangs, then swaps into Castform on the other side. You can see that it is tackle v tackle, but Paulasha's Castform is getting really low and sort of knows the writings on the wall there, so just lets it go and brings in sort of Beedrill to do the job instead. Is prepared to shield up a move from that normal, or presumably a Rock Weather Ball. Oh, it's actually a Hurricane? Did I say Hurricane? I feel like it said Hurricane, which would have been absolutely wild if that landed. Like, that's a massive brain strats from Paulasha, recognizing that it could be a Hurricane. Maybe it isn't even. But goes for the X-Scissor to do that big damage to the Swoobat. Gonna go for another X-Scissor, and Swoobat is not a very tanky Pokemon, so burning both shields there and getting another X-Scissor, and I feel like this may be enough to take out that Swoobat. It's actually not. Swoobat a little bit more tanky than I give it credit for, it seems, but now going to get a Psychic Fangs off onto the Samurott. Bring that defense right down, and here comes Araquanid in the back. You can see that the Bug Bites are actually starting to add up on the Samurott. They're doing a little bit more damage than you'd appreciate, and so I feel like at this point you could almost go for the Bubble Beam bait here, and that is what happens. And unfortunately, Paulasha falls for the bait. I don't think the Mega Horn would have been enough, and yeah, she just sort of concedes that matchup was not going her way. So after a tie, the opponent has taken out the first game, and now going into the sort of third game, but the second official game, with Donphan with counter up against her Castform, and this is not very good for Paulasha. We can actually see that a Luxray has appeared in the back. Donphan's certainly not where it's going to come out. It's a little bit ABA weak to Donphan. So going to now swap into the counter in that Samurott to try and take this Donphan out, charging up to the Hydro Cannon, going a little bit past it, and then going for the move to try and take this Donphan out if it goes unshielded. Centuton wants to burn that shield though, and unfortunately, catching the Hydro Cannon into the Swoobat. An interesting play there. Does take it down below half health, but Swoobat now going to be able to farm down. And then even this Luxray is going to struggle a little bit, but I think the fact that there's no shields left on the opponent's side and Paulasha still has 2 gives her some real wiggle room here. She farmed up to 1 move there, swaps into Castform to finish the job. Going for that Weather Ball, ready to throw onto whatever comes in. It is the Weather... Oh my gosh. Able to get the normal Weather Ball off. Really nicely done there. And would not have been possible if she didn't bring the Castform in up against that Swoobat. And now we see the swap out into Donphan to throw the Body Slam. and Paulasha really like focusing on energy here. Gonna go for the Psychic Fangs. This will be enough to take out the Donphan, and now just needs to get enough damage off to take out this Castform. Farms up, goes for the Wild Charge. Is this Wild Charge going to be enough to KO that Castform? And yes, it is, taking out game 3 for a 1-1+1 tie, and now is in the decider for round 4 here with Donphan v Donphan. Luxray has been left at home. We're back to Castform and Samurott in the back. These three clearly performing quite well as a sort of core for Paulasha, but gonna let that first Body Slam come through, and is now up to Centuton whether they want to agree, and they are going for that. But CMP tie going in the opponent's favor, so Paulasha deciding the shield advantage, switch advantage, and the extra little bit of energy would be worthwhile. But the opponent actually quick swapping out into that Castform. We've seen Centuton is actually very ready to sort of use their low health mons as sort of something that can sort of come in, get a move, a little bit of a late game, or just take a move, tank something like that. Centuton does land the energy ball onto Paulasha's Castform, but it lets Paulasha tackle all the way down, and now going to throw the Body Slam to the normal Weather Ball to not let Donphan do that big counter damage. And because of that, able to survive long enough to get this Rock Weather Ball off onto the Flying type Swoobat as well, taking the first shield out, and now it is all up to Samurott. Samurott just needs to take out one shield and then land a Mega Horn through onto that Swoobat, and Swoobat is doing a lot of damage with that Psychic Fangs already, dropping the defense of the Samurott. It's getting really low now. Goes for the Hydro Cannon, does get the shield, and now just needs to get to that Mega Horn, decides that it's not worth it, going for the Hydro Cannon, and the question is it enough to take out this Swoobat? And it is! Swoobat going to go down in game 4 of round 4, and means that Paulasha is now going off into the finals as the only undefeated battler in this tournament. Regardless of the result of this last round, she has won. It is now just purely a question of whether she takes the sort of lone victory, or whether she sort of has to share that title with some other really great battlers. And the person that is going to be fighting for that opportunity is the Lone Wolf, and they're using like lowercase L to put lines on the other side. Very annoying when you have to type their name for something. You really just have to copy paste it and hope for the best. But regardless, you can see their team there over on the right hand side with Galvantula, Swoobat, Blaziken, Girafarig, Normal Castform, and Nidoking. Yeah, the Lone Wolf also gave me one of my losses in this tournament. I ended up going 2-3, so not the best, but this is one of the Paulasha obviously gave me one loss. The Lone Wolf gave me one of the others as well. But, going to the last round here, you can see that we've got another sort of like a different team, which again sort of tells you that in this meta, in the Polkadot Cup, there's a lot of different options you can use, which is really nice. It's not everyone has to use this exact same cookie cutter team. The only Pokemon that is like consistently everywhere is Castform. And interestingly, Nidoking's actually getting a lot of play as well. I'm not a huge Nidoking fan, but it's sort of just the way that team building has sort of worked out. It sort of rounds out a lot of people's teams, which is really interesting. But enough of me rambling. We've been here for 32 minutes now, so thanks for watching this far. But we are now going into the finals with Donphan into the Girafarig. This is an interesting spot. Depending on the fast move there, it is the confusion damage. So that is really going to be adding up alongside the Psychic Fangs. But the Body Slams, again, really add up back to that Girafarig. One Body Slam brings it down into the sort of mid to low yellow there. And those Psychic Fangs plus confusions aren't keeping up that exact same pace. So Donphan able to get this last Body Slam off in the nick of time, putting a sort of pressure on Girafarig, whether the Lone Wolf wants to get that switch advantage or not, deciding to get a little bit of energy on the Nidoking instead. At this point, Paulasha can sort of comfortably bring in the Samurott and just go sort of straight Hydro Cannon here. Has to be a little bit wary of the potential of getting hit by a Mega Horn or something like that, but the most likely thing is to get hit by that Sand Tomb. We see a farm up to the Mega Horn and go for the Hydro Cannon bait. I guess there's not much of a bait because Swoobat also has the flying typing. But regardless, swaps into the Castform now, clearing the previous Psychic Fangs debuff, but not going to be able to run away from another one here. Farming up a ton of energy, burning her first shield, and just farm, and eventually is going to start throwing these Rock Weather Balls to try and take Swoobat out. I think you're only going to need one, especially at this health range. But burns the shield there, and actually wasn't able to get the move off. That is really, really unfortunate for Paulasha here. Goes for the Hydro Cannon. I've actually just remembered that I have seen this part of the battle before. Gets the Hydro Cannon off, takes out the Nidoking, and then shields up here. and isn't actually going to be able to take out the Swoobat. So that actually was a dispute. So she sent that through, and basically what happens is she should have been able to get the Weather Ball off, but the game just didn't let her. It would have taken out the Swoobat, and then that Hydro Cannon would have been a one-hit KO to the Nidoking in the back. So unfortunately, it's not allowed to be a def win, because there's a list of rules that has to be met for a def win to be able to be given. And because there were still 2 Pokemon on the opponent's side, even though it was a def win, there was no universe where if the game worked properly, she lost that game. Unfortunately, I can't rule a def win as a TO, and so sort of submitted the dispute, and then just going in for the rematch. So next game we're going to see is the actual game 1. I'll be honest, I edited these videos together probably an hour ago, and I already forgot that I included this. But regardless, we're going in to the actual game 1 now with Donphan back into that Giraffe rig. So it sort of seems like it is same leads, same teams potentially. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see sort of what's in the back for the Lone Wolf. But we'll see if it plays out similarly. Lone Wolf going for that Psychic Fangs. Again, sort of Donphan coming up to the 2 Body Slams. Going for the first one here. Lone Wolf, again, just sort of deciding to shield that. And now the second one coming through. Actually, it's not an again situation. That's the first time. So this time, Giraffe Rig actually coming out on top. Castform coming in to get a little bit of energy. Takes the Psychic Fangs, and then a quick swap into Samurott. Again, sort of predicting the Lone Wolf's quick swap into Nidoking, because now, again, one-hit KO is all you get from this Hydro Cannon. That Nidoking does not love taking one of them to the face at all. So it gets a Sand Tomb off onto the Samurott, and now Paulasha just going up, farming energy just before another move was going to come through, and going to the no shield Nidoking, and easy, boom, boom, take out the King. And now just going to get taken down by the Swoobat. But now Castform is going to be able to come in, and it is time to clean up. Paulasha has still got both shields. Got a shield of the first Psychic Fangs, which you sort of just have to at that point. Tried to catch a move by the looks of it, but it was a little bit early. But I feel like Paulasha is sort of disciplined enough that she'd sort of be prepared for that as well, and only would have thrown in the middle of a confusion from the Swoobat. But, going to be able to shield up here and then tackle down, and sort of, in my eyes, sort of happy days, because the rematch didn't change the result. So sort of winning game 1 and going into game 2 now. We've got the Samurott into the Swoobat. And again, we'll see how they decide to play this out. Swoobat just going to go straight for the Psychic Fangs. If you sort of have a lot of options to play left, you sort of don't want to shield the first one, because the second one is going to do that a little bit more. But the opponent actually decides to swap out into Castform after getting that defense debuff on. But it lets Paulasha swap into Donphan and shield up the Energy Ball correctly. Really nice read there from Paulasha. And now going to be able to get this Body Slam off that will be enough to KO. Going to let it go. Brings back in the Swoobat, but Swoobat's going to have to face this Body Slam, which it can take. And then we'll be able to get to a Psychic Fangs. We're actually going to get another Body Slam coming through. So Swoobat's still going to be able to take this. Will potentially be able to Confusion down here, and then get a Psychic Fangs off onto whatever Paulasha brings in. Paulasha's switch timer is up, so she has the option of sort of taking the Psychic Fangs and then swapping out, which is actually what we see here. And there's also the swap out from the Lone Wolf, who is sitting there like, oh, did I really just bring Nidoking into Samurott again? And yes, you did. And now another Hydro Cannon is going to come in and boom, take out the Nidoking with one more Fury Cutter to just clean up the deal. And now it is just Swoobat versus the normal Castform, who is able to take a Psychic Fangs, but actually going to take the Psychic Fangs from the Swoobat, and now just going to tackle all the way down, taking out 2-0. And now, just for funsies, we're going to see that third game with Luxray going into the Nidoking, which it has Psychic Fangs, so it's not an awful matchup, but the Sand Tombs are not something you want to be taking. So farms up, swaps out into Castform, and now Nidoking just sort of letting loose with a bunch of Sand Tombs onto the Castform. Normal Weather Ball coming through here. Going to bring it down into the red. Not quite going to be able to tackle down. Lone Wolf going to keep that little bit of energy on the Nidoking for later on. Going to throw the Rock Weather Ball, though, to get a shield out of the opponent. And just going to go down there. At this point, you could kind of go either way. I think Luxray is probably the safer way to go. You aren't doing a lot of damage with Psychic Fangs, so you sort of are more leaning towards going for the Wild Charge to sort of get the KO. But again, Paulasha's switch timer is up here, so she can actually quite comfortably go for the Wild Charge and then dip out. include the defense debuff, does land the wild charge as well, which is really nice. Goes to the Samurott, goes. And it's actually Blaziken in the back for the Lone Wolf, which is great for Samurott because it means that she's sort of able to take this Sand Tomb just on the face because we sort of knew how much energy it had from before, able to Fury Cut it down, and now just throw 2 back-to-back Hydro Cannons onto this Blaziken. And Blaziken is in the same boat as Nidoking. It's not a very bulky Pokemon, and when you've got a Hydro Cannon coming to the face, you're not having a very good time. So Blaziken goes down, and Paulasha taking out the last battle with a 2 shield flex, just as a little cherry on top of her 5-0 run. So really, really incredible battles, like so much fun to watch, and she like really does show that she's such a talented battler. And really wishing her all the best going to EUIC this weekend as well, because she's definitely in with a solid chance to take that all out. But in saying that, oh, she did lose a battle to a Wailmer, so, keep that in mind. But, in saying that, Wailmer obviously a very high-performing Pokemon in the play Pokemon circuit. Top 6 in Sydney? Like, Wailmer must be something special. So, watch out, do those sims as you head to EUIC. So, wishing you all the best. But thank you so much for not only joining the tournament, and to all people who sort of joined the tournament, but also to Paulasha for sharing the footage with us, so we can sort of try and learn from, again, a team that she's so far been able to go 10-0 in concluded tournaments. So really strong team, really strong battler, and some really fun battles to watch. Now, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially the subscribe one. If you want to watch some more Polkadot Cup action and you haven't yet, I do have those last 2 videos on the channel as well. Just, hit the channel while you hit the subscribe button on the way, and check out those videos from Misa and Otto Saha as well. But yeah, thank you to my patrons and YouTube members as well for being very lovely people. They're the froken best. Mwah. But yeah, I will see you in the next one, whatever it may be. Bye.